This is True Crime with Kris. In this episode, I'm examining the Delphi murders involving Abigail Williams and Liberty German. This will be a long-form evidence-based analysis. The focus here is on documented facts, investigative process, and what can and cannot reasonably be concluded from the public record. This is not a speculative discussion, and it's not intended to dramatise violence for entertainment. The Delphi case has remained in public attention for years, in part because of its length, its visibility, and the unusual nature of the evidence involved. As legal proceedings continue, some information remains sealed. What follows is based on what has been officially released and reliably reported at the time of recording. Delphi is a small town in Indiana with a population of just a few thousand people. In February of 2017, it was not a place accustomed to national attention, much less prolonged scrutiny tied to a double homicide. Abigail Williams and Liberty German were both teenagers and close friends. On February 13th, 2017, they went for a walk along the Monon High Bridge Trail, a local hiking area that was familiar to people in the community. They were dropped off near the trailhead that same afternoon. What is known about that day comes from phone data, witness timelines, and later investigative reconstruction. At some point during their walk, the girls encountered a man on the bridge. Libby recorded video and audio on her phone, capturing a brief image of the man and a short audio clip that has since become widely known. When the girls did not return as expected, a search began. Their bodies were discovered the following day. From that moment forward, the case shifted from a missing person search to a homicide investigation that would last for years. Now, one of the most distinctive aspects of the Delphi case is the existence of recorded evidence. Libby German's phone captured both video and audio that law enforcement later released to the public, though in limited form. It's important to be clear about what that evidence does and does not show. The video is brief and of limited quality. The audio is short and lacks broader context. While these recordings are significant, they do not provide a complete picture of events, nor do they answer questions about motive, planning, or what happened outside these captured moments. Over time, the public has filled in gaps with interpretation and assumption. Part of responsible analysis is separating what law enforcement has confirmed from what has been inferred or imagined. Evidence can guide understanding, but it also has limits, and those limits matter. In the early stages of the investigation, law enforcement released information cautiously. Public appeals were made, and the community was asked to assist with tips and information. 2 different suspect sketches were released at different points in the investigation. The differences between those sketches and the timing of their release led to confusion and intense public discussion. From an investigative standpoint, this reflects how information evolves as cases develop, not necessarily inconsistency or error. As media coverage increased, so did public speculation. Online forums, social media, and commentary expanded far beyond what was supported by confirmed facts. This environment can complicate investigations and distort public understanding, especially when partial information is treated as complete. Years after the murders, Richard Allen was arrested and charged in connection with the case. What is publicly known about Allen comes largely from court filings and official statements. Allen lived in Delphi and had been in the area around the time of the murders. Law enforcement has stated that he had contact with investigators early on, though the details of that contact and how it was evaluated have not all been made public. Following his arrest, significant portions of the case record were sealed. As a result, there is a clear boundary between what is known and what remains undisclosed. At this stage, analysis must focus on process rather than conclusions about guilt or innocence. The evidence in this case can be broadly grouped into physical evidence, digital evidence, and witness information. However, much of what the public knows is incomplete due to sealed filings and ongoing legal proceedings. Some elements of the evidence appear to align in ways that support the prosecution's case, while other aspects remain unclear or unavailable for independent evaluation. This makes definitive analysis impossible at this stage. A key distinction throughout this discussion is between confirmed evidence, reported claims that have not been tested in court, and information that is simply unknown. Treating all three as equal leads to misunderstanding, and in serious cases, that distinction is critical. Behavioural analysis can offer limited insight into opportunity, risk tolerance, and situational factors. It cannot determine motive, intent, or internal decision-making with certainty. In the Delphi case, there has been a tendency to overinterpret minimal evidence and assign confidence when none exists. Responsible behavioural discussion acknowledges probability rather than certainty and avoids drawing conclusions that the evidence cannot support. Analysis is most useful when it clarifies boundaries, not when it pretends those boundaries don't exist. There are still substantial gaps in the public record. Portions of the evidence remain sealed, and legal proceedings are ongoing. Some questions may be answered in court, others may never be fully resolved. Uncertainty is uncomfortable, but it is also honest. In cases like this, acknowledging what we don't know is as important as discussing what we do. Based on what is publicly available, the Delphi case presents a mixture of documented evidence, unresolved questions, and legal constraints that limit full evaluation. Some aspects of the investigation are clear, others remain incomplete. As the legal process continues, the public record may change. Until then, restraint matters. Careful analysis depends on respecting evidence, uncertainty, and process. This has been True Crime with Kris. Thank you for listening.